All right, so we're set to go. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for attending tonight. And we'll begin with a call to order. It is 6:01 p.m. I need a mover and a seconder to call this meeting to order. Councillor Grant, Councillor Morton. And all those in favor? And I'm in favor as well, so that motion is carried. First, the next item on the agenda is the procedural bylaw being suspended. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Morton. Right. That's in second. So therefore be resolved that the procedural bylaw be suspended for the duration of this meeting. All in favor? And as well, so that is carried. Are there any disclosures of conflict of interest with pecuniary interests? None. All right. Next item on the agenda, that we approve the agenda as circulated. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Morton, Councillor Manson. So therefore be resolved, the Council of the Corporation Municipality of Calvin hereby approves the agenda as circulated. All those in favor? I'm sorry, I can ask for discussion there. Is there any discussion? No, none. So the motion is carried. I'm in favor as well. The next item on the agenda, 2428, the council approved the meeting minutes of January the 9th and January the 23rd. I just need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Manson and Councillor Latimer. Seconds. Any discussion on those minutes? None. All those in favor? All right, that motion is carried. Thank you. Under delegations, we have now tonight. The next item is the consent agenda. This is therefore that we have received the consent agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Grant and Councillor Morton. And therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin hereby receive the consent agenda items as circulated, unless any items requested for separate review and discussion. One item was moved forward, but there's nothing in this package that is moved forward. So I just need a vote to accept the consent agenda. Okay, that is carried. I vote in favor as well. So the next item on the agenda is the provincial cemetery management support request. Madam CEO, I'm going to get you to read this motion, please.
Okay, if we could just have a mover and a second.
Yes, a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Manson. Second. And Councillor Grant.
Okay, so whereas the Funeral, Burial and Cremation Services Act 2002, when a cemetery is declared abandoned by a judge of the Supreme Court Justice, the local municipality within whose geographic boundaries the land of the cemetery is located becomes the owner of the cemetery with all the rights and obligations in respect of the cemetery and the assets, trust funds, and trust accounts related to it that the previous owner or operator possessed. And whereas over the last decade, there has been an increase in the number of churches and local cemetery boards initiating processes to transfer ownership or abandon their owned and operated cemeteries to the local municipality due to such issues as high maintenance costs, inaccuracy of records, lack of financial and human resources to effectively operate and maintain the cemetery, increase regulatory processes regarding training, selling of interment rights, financial operation of the care and maintenance fund, etc. Sounds like that, by the way. And whereas municipalities experience the same issues and pressures that churches and local boards experience with the operation and maintenance of cemeteries within its jurisdiction, and additional transfers of cemetery lands only compound the burden on municipal taxpayers. And whereas cemeteries are important to infrastructure where the reasonable cost of interment rights, burials, monument foundations, cornerstones, and administration charges do not sufficiently support the general operation of cemeteries. And whereas the interest earned from the care and maintenance funds of a cemetery do not provide adequate funding to maintain the cemetery with the rising cost of lawn and turf maintenance contracts and monument restoration. Now therefore be resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Kelvin requests that the province, through the Ministry of Public and Business Services, Delivery and the Bereavement Authority of Ontario, consider the following to assist municipalities in this growing concern of cemetery transfers. A, amending the Funeral, Burial and Cremation Services Act 2002 to have the province, through the BAO, identified as a default owner of the and operator of a cemetery when it is abandoned. Provide annual funding based on the number of cemeteries the municipality owns and operates to municipalities to assist with the maintenance of inactive and active cemeteries. Provide free training opportunities for municipalities regarding cemetery administration, and investigate and support the design of universal cemetery software for use by municipal cemetery operators that can be offered at an affordable cost. And that this resolution be circulated to the Honorable Todd McCarthy, Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery, Jim Casamatis, BAO Interim CEO Registrar, MPP Jill Dunlop, MPP Vic Fidelli, if we should add there, please, and all municipalities in Ontario.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, council?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a good fact pattern that you've laid out there or has been laid out, and it makes a lot of sense to get some funding. I can imagine just cutting the grass and keeping it tidy as it's a fair amount of cost and an activity that needs to be responsible for.
The paperwork in itself is huge. And then the fire, but you can't keep all the funds. They have to go into a cemetery fund reserved only for and when EAO authorizes the use of that cemetery care. So now the province has said these will become municipally owned. Municipalities are saying they'll become yours, pay us to run them.
Which makes even more sense. And we have 3 cemeteries in Calvin. If I'm not-
We own one.
We own one, and there are 2 others.
One is Bonfield, the municipality of Bonfield.
Has taken that over, but it's in Calvin.
Yeah, it is there, so.
It is theirs? Okay, and then the one on Highway 630. So it can affect us, this legislation, so is there any other discussion?
Sorry, it's the one in on Mount Pleasant, that is Bonfield's?
It's Bonfield Cemetery, but it's on Calvin property.
Okay.
Because it's on the west side of the road, right? Okay. Any other discussion? No? Then I'll call this to a vote. All those in favor of the resolution as stated? Okay, that I'm in favor as well, so that is carried. The next item on the agenda is the fire, as I said, the provincial and national firefighting strategy resolution. I need a mover and a seconder to, okay, then is Bill Morton and a seconder. Right, okay, Councilor Manson. I'll just read the resolution first and then open it up for discussion and background. Before Calvin Township became a township, it was burned by numerous forest fires. This was before the time of fire towers, water bombers, and municipal fire departments. An 1881 report from Lawrence Talon, provincial land surveyor, states the township of Calvin has been traversed by repeated and severe fires. So well have the flames done their work that with the exception of an insignificant portion, scarcely a vestige of the original timber remains. History has a way of repeating itself, and now rural municipalities and remote areas need more than ever to be prepared to respond to forest fires. Invasive pests like the emerald ash borer and the spruce budworm are killing large numbers of trees, leaving copious amounts of dry kindling in our forests, just waiting for a careless human or a lightning strike. The forests are choked with deadfall, and forest fires are becoming increasingly difficult to control. Add to this the effects of rising temperatures and drier seasons or climate change, and we could be facing increasingly disastrous forest fires. This is not the time to be caught short with limited forest fighting resources. Jordan Olmsted of the Canadian Press recently wrote, but as Canada's water bombers age and wildfire seasons are expected to intensify, some wildland fighters and emergency preparedness experts say the country needs to prop up its fleet of firefighting aircraft, even though several provinces are playing down the concerns about capacity. He quotes Eric Davidson, president of the Ontario Professional Association of Wildland Firefighters. We're really starting to see the effects of the aging fleet. The article further states that John Gradick, lecturer at McGill University, estimates that almost half of the large water bombers used in the Canadian to fight Canadian forest fires are nearing the end of their service life. However, a Canadian company making a large skimmer-style water bomber is backed up with orders from European countries until the end of the decade. Ontario has its own fleet of aircraft. They have 20 fixed-wing aircraft, which include 9 CL-215s and CL-415 water bombers that are 24 years old on average. The remaining 11 aircraft are on average 54 years of age. Melissa Candelaria, a spokesperson for Minister Graydon Smith, says the MNR can handle Ontario fires with these aircraft, but Jennifer Camus, communications manager for the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre, CIFC, noted that other provinces contract out fire bombers, and last year there was a strain in Canada to get resources to areas in need because there were so many fires across the country at the same time and very few aircraft available. Peter Zanomjic of the CBC quoted the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs, CAFC, President Ken McMullen. It's not often that the fire chiefs sound the alarm. We are very concerned about this impending crisis that the summer of 2024 and beyond is going to bring our sector. In 2023, we all smelled the smoke and we saw the sky turn brown. Buildings can be replaced, but lives cannot. And once an area is burned, it takes more than a lifetime for it to return to its original state. So whereas forest fires are a very real threat to rural municipalities, and whereas smoke from forest fires put people's health at risk, this is especially true of children and the elderly. The David Suzuki Foundation reports that wildfires kill many thousands of people per year, and most of the deaths are from smoke inhalation. And whereas forest fires are a very real danger to the climate, and according to The Guardian, in 2023, they emitted 3 times as much carbon as the entire carbon footprint of Canada. And whereas, according to John Crace, in the John Crace interview in The Guardian with William Kurtz, a retired scientist with Natural Resources Canada, around 2 billion tons of carbon have been released into the atmosphere from forest fires in 2023, 2 billion tons of carbon. And whereas carbon emissions from forest fires are not counted against Canada's Paris Agreement commitments, according to Kurtz, but they far exceeded all of the emissions tied to Canada's economy, which is 670 megatons or 0.67 billion tons, according to Environment and Climate Change Canada. And whereas that standing healthy forests serve as a carbon sink, drawing in carbon, but once destroyed by fire, even though second growth takes its place, it is much less effective for many decades. And whereas the federal government owns no water bombers and assists the provinces through CIFC, the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre, A spokesperson with SIPSI says that last year there were too many requests and not enough inventory to meet the needs. And whereas, as reported by de Havilland Canada, who manufactures the Canadian-made water bombers, they have contracts with European countries for the next 22 of their new DHC 515 planes, which will take until 2029 or 2030 to complete, and there will be very little production available to replace aging water bombers in Ontario and the rest of Canada. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of Calvin Township urges and encourages the federal government to commit additional funds for cost sharing of provincial firefighting and to consider the development of a national strategy of firefighting. Furthermore, we urge the federal government to consider the measures necessary for acquiring a national fleet of Canadian-made water bombers with home bases strategically located to best serve and respond to the needs of rural communities, and a national fire administration to better coordinate and manage efforts across the country. We also encourage the introduction of a program similar to the Joint Emergency Preparedness Program, JEP, which was ended in 2013. And we encourage Minister Graydon Smith to step up the on-the-ground firefighting capability and water bomber acquisitions in Ontario. And that this resolution be forwarded to the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Bill Blair, Minister of National Defence, the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Graydon Smith, Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry of Ontario, the Honourable Vic Fedeli, Minister of Economic Development Ontario, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FMC, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, and that this resolution be shared with all 444 municipalities in Ontario for their consideration and adoption. Sorry, it's kind of long, but that's the resolution. Any discussion? But you want,
I do agree,
okay,
100%. Our, even having called out for the bombers, we never know what is available.
right,
And if there's two calls that come in at once, you don't know where they're gonna go. The ministry will make that decision.
yeah.
So, yeah, we need a lot more resources within our province.
Thank you. Any other comments? Questions?
If we get a forest fire in this area, I was out in Alberta when they had the forest fire there that went on for about a month. Be the same thing here, and just keep on going. And when their on-ground resources are very limited.
As well.
I think that was very well written, very appropriate, very timely. Is there anything we can do at the local level to have a more preparedness, a plan of attack if we do find ourselves under a local fire here? Is there anything that we can?
I think that's beyond the scope of this resolution, but I mean, I think it's a question worth answering.
But it'd be under the scope of the emergency management organization, which both Marielle and I are on.
Right.
And we're in the process of hiring a CEMC to replace our. But that would, the last time they had a scenario, they have a scenario every year mandated by the province. Last year it was regarding flooding.
Correct.
So this year, and we've talked about having one this year or a future year regarding forest fires.
And that was actually part of the impetus of creating this resolution. Is Donna Maitland and I were at the CEMC exercise, and of course it was our fire chief. And when we were there, it was talked about a flood on the river. But I spoke to a couple of people and they said, well, a flood is a possibility, but the real danger here is a forest fire. And if it takes hold, that's something, and that is something that we would be dealing with.
With EMO.
Yes.
Yeah, the flooding is probably a manageable disaster. A forest fire wouldn't be
Right.
manageable.
No.
You'd be evacuating and hoping for the best. like part of that training would be creating evacuation routes for people.
Right,
In our community, I'm thinking of the people that live down in the Louder Township that only have 630 as an escape route. So if you have a fire down there, where do they go?
if you live at the end of Bronson Lake Road, you're done.
Well,
Well, it's there.
Yeah, you got swamp, you get in the swamp with the moose.
You know, it's funny you should say that, because I've often thought that you could do that and go stay in a 6 acre pond, but I'm told that you wouldn't survive the smoke inhalation.
You'd
The
probably
forest fire-
suffocate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd suffocate
Yeah.
as well. So I mean, really, the answer here is when a forest fire is identified, to get it at 1 acre before it turns into 100.
If,
Oh, yeah.
if they're extremely busy, and I've seen this on Crown land, that they monitor it. They monitor it.
And,
They don't put it out at 1 acre, they'll monitor it.
right. Scary thought.
Yeah, last
Very-
year, I think we got 2 calls where it went out for smoke, and then it turned out to be unfounded, but still, everybody goes just to make sure.
Yes.
So we are hosting the scene for 2024, and we know what it will be.
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay, Councilor Grant, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just think that I appreciate Richard you putting this together. I think it, as written, I think is a great resolution. A great thing to put forward and submit. And I guess, which I just would like to keep an eye on it, because, just being a pessimist sometimes is, I feel like when when the federal government gets a hold of this, there's gonna be a lot of people sitting in desks maybe that don't live in our communities that are saying, okay, well, we don't want forest fires, let's just ban fires. Let's do top-down bans, and that's not what this is asking for.
No.
But let's keep an eye on that, because I don't think that we want to just, end our way of life here in Ontario. Many of us use wood stoves, campfires, tourism, all these things. And simply banning is not gonna solve the issue. It doesn't, if we ban fires in houses, we can't all throw our fire extinguishers away.
Right.
And get rid of our fire department, and I think we need those resources. I think that's what this speaks to. So-
Exactly.
I would like to send this off, and also, hopefully it's effective, and upper levels of government, particularly the federal government, doesn't misinterpret our request for more resources
Right.
with more regulation.
I think, Mario, you'll probably know this better than I would, but I think the majority of forest fires are lightning strikes, are they not?
Lightning strikes, the rails,
Oh, yes.
not maintaining their braking system.
Industry, maybe.
Well, the
Lightning.
the railway, they were having a lot of problems with
Yeah.
railway, but then they started billing.
Voicing.
All of a sudden, the incidents went down because they were being billed for the damage and for the response times.
But there's, the only way you're gonna control lightning strikes is if you have the resources to fight the fires.
Yeah, and that's, I think.
And often they're secluded, right? They're,
Right.
Yes. Specific
Area.
bombers, the
Yeah.
water bombers and the resources and the ability to identify, and so I think the resolution speaks to all that.
yeah.
I think it's fantastic. The pessimist in me says, watch out.
Okay, we'll watch out. Any other last discussion? No?
It's,
Yes, I have something. Infrastructure has to be renewed, and this type of infrastructure, it's government level. Federal government, provincial government. I'm
Right.
totally in favor of it. Unless we can ban lightning strikes. I think we do need water bombers.
We'll use some of the carbon money the whole thing addresses the carbon footprint of forest fires. And they're trying to reduce emissions on fuel cells, and forest fires are 3 times the impact on the community.
3 times the impact on the world.
Yeah.
3 times as much carbon produced from forest fires in Canada last year than what was produced by the entire Canadian economy. So All right, did you have,
I was just commenting that how quickly we forget, and this is a reminder of that black smoke, brown skies that we had. And people in New York City, what are these Canadian, the smoke from Canada? Like, is it traveling in massive areas? And looking at, we had maps, interactive maps to see where the smoke flow is going. Such a huge thing. It'll probably be back this year, right?
it could be. All right, so if there's no other discussion, I'll call this to a vote. All those in favor of resolution for the water bombers, all in favor? And I'm in favor as well, so that motion is carried. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is sorry, I'm just gonna find my place here. The Military Service Recognition Book Project. This is just a resolution asking for a donation. So I need to move in a second to discuss this, please. Okay, Councilor Morgan. And seconded by Councilor Manson. I'll just read the resolution and then open it for discussion. Council for the Corporation of Municipality of Calvin has received and considered Ontario Command Legion's 11th request to contribute to and participate in their annual edition of the Military Service Recognition Book Project. Council's decision is to or not to participate in this project with a one-time donation at a rate of X number of dollars. So I'll just open that up for discussion. Before we can pass this resolution, we either have to decide on an amount so that it's in the resolution or a $0 amount.
I have a comment. I think we've set a precedent of not contributing to charities or this type of thing. I'm not really in favor of it. It's a worthwhile cause, but you know, we didn't contribute to the food bank, very little. High school graduation, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm not really in favor of it.
Okay,
If you
so
want to do
you're-
it as an individual basis, sure, do it.
Other Councilor Grant?
So I'm gonna say the same thing that I've said twice before, to be consistent. And, I think that anytime we have a number of organizations, various organizations, and this is what has to happen, and must, you know, staff will receive it and they'll bring it to council, right? That's the policy, that's what we have in place. And it makes it awkward at the council table sometimes, but I think that it's up to the residents to donate their money, and I want to be careful as a councillor not to decide on their behalf which organizations I think it's up to them. And so I unfortunately, I'm not in favor of supporting it. But I do think that we should try to have some way to, and I think we can through our website or whatever, to try to promote. We can pass it along to say, hey, residents, you know, these are opportunities
To donate.
to donate to various organizations that are requesting.
Okay. Any other discussion? Yes.
No, they're asking for a minimal amount, so from a personal point of view, it wouldn't be that much of an impact on a person who contribute. They're looking for donations $25 to $100, whereas from the community, I'm thinking they're probably looking more for 1,000 and up.
Mhm.
So I agree with Councilor Grant that we pass on this to the individual in the community to support it.
And Councilor Manson, you,
Echoing similar thoughts around the table. It's a great cause, want to support. But at the same time, by just being the steward of the tax dollar, it doesn't feel like it's I'm not, even though I'm authorized, I don't feel good about allocating that decision of where their donation dollars go.
thank you. So then I will call this to a vote by reading the resolution as to what I've just heard, and we can vote yea or nay. Council for the Corporation of Municipality of Calvin has received and considered the Ontario Command Legion's 11th request to contribute to and participate in their annual edition of the Military Service Recognition Book Program. council's decision is to not participate in this project. All those in favor of that resolution? Okay, that is carried as not. Thank you. I vote in favor as well. Next item on the agenda is well, it's about the Parry Sound District Health Unit Strategic Planning. Now, this is a resolution, just, John, can you explain this one?
We can get a mover in a second.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
Up here.
Mover and a seconder? Okay, Councillor Manson,
Let's remove that.
you'll understand in just a moment. Seconder,
I said.
Councillor Grant? All right. Ms. Maitland, if you can,
Now therefore be resolved that the individual council members and Calvin citizens consider participating in the North Bay and Parry Sound District Health Unit strategic planning process by attending a focus group session or completing the online survey. Information about how to participate in this process will be shared by staff on our Facebook and website pages as it is received at the municipal office. And you do have attached the link to the health units website where that survey is. We've already posted it to both our website and Facebook. So this is really to bring attention to citizens who are listening and to council members that it's very important that we as citizens who benefit and participate in the services of the health unit do consider participating in their strategic planning process by answering their survey or attending a meeting in your personal.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, Councillor Morrison, what we're doing is we have discussed this, but now we're bringing forth a resolution to encourage the participation of the general public on our webpage to.
I'm just referring to the memo that we got saying to remove it from the agenda. That's.
Not this.
Yeah, 8.1.4.
No, that was something.
That right there. No,
It was
that's
just wrong.
Yeah, that was just,
It found its way in the agenda.
yeah. So this is still there.
So
So, any discussion? I'd just like to say that we do want to encourage the public to become involved and for councillors to fill out the survey as well and staff. It's an important issue and the more input, the better. So if there's no other discussion, I'll call this to a vote. All those in favor? All right, so that motion, I'm in favor as well. That motion is carried. Next item on the agenda. Is the letter from the, okay, yes, this is what we added. There is a letter that we all signed on behalf of all of the municipalities for our participation in Castle Home. So I need a mover and a seconder to bring forth this resolution. Okay, Councillor Morton and Councillor Latimer. I'll just read the resolution. The Council of the Corporation of Municipality of Calvin is in receipt of the letter signed by the mayors of the municipality of Bonfield, Chisholm, East Ferris, Mattawa, Matawan, Papineau, Cameron, and Calvin addressed to the Honorable Stan Chu, Minister of Long-Term Healthcare, government structure review of the Board of Management for Territorial District Homes, in particular the District of Nipissing East Home for the Aged Castle. So this motion is just bringing this letter out to the public. I can't even imagine there would be any discussion, but.
And it is available on our website. I think the reason we brought it down from consent agenda item as information is so that everyone can be aware that the mayors are united in this letter to the minister as it deals with board management of Castle Home and where we fit in that.
Absolutely. So I'll just call for a vote to accept the resolution. All those in favor? And that is carried. I am in favor as well. Next item on the agenda is the calling for sale of the property on 142 Talon Lake Road. I just need a mover and seconder for that, please. Councilor Manson, and seconded by Councilor Grant. So what we're doing here, we did talk about this property at an earlier council meeting, of course. But this is staff bringing forth the bylaw as to how the disposition of this property has to be dealt with. So the bylaw is attached to the resolution. It's in the agenda as well. We are not reaching a decision, am I correct, on how we're selling the property? We're just reaching a decision that we will bring this forth in a future planning meeting, is that correct?
Right, so if you read the bylaw, it does state that you discuss this basically in full session.
Right,
To decide how to dispose of the land, whether or not you are disposing of it. And in fact, it is something that's in our closed session meeting tonight to discuss further. Council asked that we bring forward so that you could see what that bylaw looked like and that you could have the time to read it in advance of any decision. So that's what's being brought forward here tonight.
okay. I think we've lost Councillor Platinum.
I can hear you. I just can't see you. My camera is gone.
Oh, it's fine.
blank.
Phil Harris, you're still a participant in the meeting. Thank you.
I can see you as well, so it's all good.
Okay, so all those in favor of accepting the information in the package as it says, okay, I'll read it out. Sorry, I should read it. The Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin by Resolution 2023-324 dated December the 12th approved the sale of 142 Talon Lake Road property and directed staff to bring forward the bylaw regarding the sale of land to review the policy and process. So there now be it resolved that the municipality, the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin is in receipt of the bylaw 2008-015 being a bylaw to adopt policies for the sale of land as requested, and the council with this information decide whether or not to declare the land surplus and proceed with the sale at a future planning meeting. All those in favor? Okay, and I'm in favor as well, so that is carried. And the next item, thank you, Muriel, we finally got around to you. This is a resolution for your department. I just need to move in a seconder to, okay, that's Councillor Morton and seconded by Councillor Latimer. He just beat you by a second there, Latimer. So we have the report from our fire chief attached. Muriel, do you want to go over anything in that report?
I would, okay, so on January 24th, well, we had a discussion with the CEO and mayor, the minutes are there. I attended a mutual aid meeting in Powassan. We talked about the associations of PTSD and critical incident stress of firefighters. It was an informative discussion. I do have that course, so I could relate on a lot of that. Donna and I also had a preliminary budgetary meeting. We are planning for, Bill, where did you? We're planning for our family fun day. I've talked to Brandon to start, well, stockpiling snow at this point. It's kind of a, let's see.
Not work, might not even have bike.
And hopefully the weather will cooperate with us so we can have the rink. I've asked that the rink be closed for some time until the weather changes, so we can at least keep the base. Monday. Blair Grove has also been named and chosen as firefighter of the year. And I've also been at the specific meeting. I
Did we-
spoke,
Did I just,
Yeah.
can we congratulate, Mr. Groves as, firefighter of the year? please? Sorry?
uh, at the mutual aid meeting, I also discussed with the chief, which is Bill Cox. His brother is one of the organizers of Firefighters Without Borders. A lot of the outdated gear that we have at the station, which is over in abundance, will be donated to Firefighters Without Borders. And they're generally sent out to places like the Ukraine, those types of areas. In turn, anything that has any kind of fuel cannot be sent overseas, so we can get pumps, we can get different equipment from there. Nozzles, adapters, those kinds of things. So I'm hoping to go do a shopping trip, if they allow me, with a U-Haul. I wanted to also clarify, did we pass resolution for the last two firefighters that had applied?
No. Yeah, we need the information in advance before you hired in order to have
Okay.
counsel.
Okay. So can we do that tonight, or do you want,
We need to prepare it. So
okay,
if you want to give it to us, we can prepare the motions. Along with, I see you have another one.
yes,
Maybe we can do all three.
All
at the same
three.
time for the next meeting, if you have
Okay.
that before next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can do that. Okay, and I've also been going through some of the bylaws. Especially, well, the first one I've seen is, the firefighter, no. Let me see, I just gotta find my papers.
So we met to go over, and we had a great meeting just the other day after the preliminary budget one to go over some of the bylaws for fire, and Mary Ellen committed to going through them, and water agreement, I don't want us to miss that one too.
No, that's
Talk about
what
that.
I'm suggesting, the fire agreement with, Water and Boulder. It's been, I was just looking at, the fees that they pay. It's $90 a year.
You're talking about this agreement with the water?
Yes.
Maybe if you could just explain to the other counselors what that agreement entails.
So the agreement pretty much entails that we supply fire suppression, auto X, ice water rescue, public education, public fire prevention, complaints, requests, and inquiries to these municipalities. There is
23.
the appendix, there is 23 residents.
So just so I understand it, what we do is we provide fire support to any resident of Calvin, of course.
Yes.
But then if somebody lives in Papineau County, not Papineau County, in Lauder or Bolter Township,
Yeah.
and they're accessible by a year-round road,
Yes,
and they're within a certain distance, I believe, or no?
there was no distance,
Okay, so they're just in the township and
accessible year-round road.
and they have to fill out a form requesting that they want to pay an amount. And then they pay that amount and then we provide them fire systems.
Not
No?
necessarily, no.
No?
So it states that everybody that is on that list is part of this agreement,
Must participate.
must participate.
Okay,
But if you do not pay the fee, then if you have any kind of call out at that location, you are charged MTO rates per hour, which is $559 now, per hour per truck.
okay.
Yes.
Isn't there also a rate per firefighter?
Nope,
Not according to the bylaw.
not according to, it's only, well, you get 4 firefighters per truck. So my plan is to visit each and every address within the bylaw.
Mhm.
First of all, to see the accessibility. To ensure that we can provide those services.
Mhm.
But having said that, we need to know who lives there and who to send the invoice to.
So if I may, we don't have that information and often envelopes get turned back because they're not addressed to resident of, they must be addressed to the name of. And I was here when mailouts went out by the staff last year and a number of them came back. We didn't collect on. They don't return and sign. And, you know, the bylaw does say, the agreement does say that every resident at those 23
Must
acres
sign.
must participate
Yeah.
and must sign. And
But if they haven't received the agreement, how can we justify charging them $500, $559 an hour per truck?
so Muriel's going to look at the bylaw and come back with that new rate because it hasn't changed since 2016.
So I propose that we go to $150 annually per household, but with the annual increase at the same rate as a tax increase for the Calvin residents.
Makes sense. Now, that would have to be in a resolution.
So we'll bring that
Yes.
back to the next meeting.
Yeah, that would have to be brought forth as a resolution. So what you're saying in your report is that you're going to do a study of this situation and then bring back a resolution to council. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
Councilor Grant. Before we go into discussion, is there anything else you want to add to your report?
No,
Okay, then I'll open it up for discussion. Actually, Councilor Grant, you were first hand up, so.
Yeah, I just would like to mention the staff is something that, strikes me, this must, a must participate type language in a bylaw. And my understanding is that, you know, our authority is municipal. And so it would be interesting to make sure that we even have legal authority to, you know, have such a bylaw, because if push comes to shove, it may not be worth much on paper.
Isn't it an agreement that they've agreed to pay this money for us to provide the service? So they've agreed, that's why they have to pay.
So
That was what the original was.
That's right. So the original, there's some background to this that we'll bring forward.
Yeah.
You know, at the next
We'll have to
meeting,
just
why
make
the
sure.
wording was there is it appears according to the wording that the residents came en masse to the municipality and requested this service. And the deal that was made at that time was we will provide the service providing that all 23 addresses participate in this program, in this agreement. The agreement's never got signed. I mean, not one last year signed the agreement. We did get a couple of checks back. I went in and looked through, shouldn't say county, but we went and looked to see. And in fact, though, there was, I think since I've been back this time, we've received 2 calls. One from a new person asking about the agreement, which was really great. That means somebody told them about it. And then one from another who was moving and wanted to know what she needs to do with.
how does that affect new occupants of the?
Good, it's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is that you can't, you know, there's no, I cannot, I'm not a lawyer, can't see any way that we could force. We're suggesting, you say must participate so that we can have an aggregate to make it worthwhile. But there's no possible way that we go to a new owner and say, you must participate. We wouldn't have the legal authority.
The alternative, if they don't want to participate, it's $559 an hour per truck.
Absolutely.
So I think what's been missing is that, you know, as Muriel, when we spoke for Muriel Fire Department to go out and to actually meet these people and tell them about the agreement that exists, to get them to sign up it's like, going door to door and saying, sign on the dotted line, basically, right, this is what we have
And
to
how,
offer you, and will you participate? Yes.
and how as a fire department, when we first get a call out, we'd have to go through our list and see who has signed up and who hasn't.
Wouldn't we just respond and then deal with it later?
It's not our
We would,
community though,
but-
right? Yeah.
No, don't we have an MTO agreement to do all of 6:30?
Mhm.
So we were.
What I'm saying, at a residence itself, but we'd still have to respond.
But Councillor Grant is correct. We should pass this through legal and not count on the fact that it may or may not have been legal at the beginning of time when this bylaw was first passed. So we'll be sure that the agreement is scheduled to go out in January, but we're not going to send it out. We're not ready at this point, given the increase and the fact that, fire should go out to explain to people. We have no idea. And I can tell you that I tried to track down through a number of agencies. MPAC or, Municipal Affairs sent me to MPAC sent me to here. Northern Development and Mines used to have participation on local boards. They're not there. Could not get the names of people who resided at addresses. So the only conclusion that I drew when Mary Hill and I met and I brought this to her attention was, it's a door-to-door visit. And at the same time, an opportunity to assess
Yeah.
the properties that they're going to on a regular basis, not just once every 10 years.
So, Councillor Morton has said one thing that I didn't realize. And that brings some clarity to the issue by Councillor Grant, and that is that the firefighters must respond to anything on Highway 630.
Well, it's an MTO agreement, any accident on MTO all the way down to the park.
Oh, what about a house fire all the way down? the park?
Well, we probably, well, there's nobody else to respond, it'd be it'd be Calvin that would respond. And then like the fire chief said, if they weren't a part of this agreement, it's $5.59 an hour. Just like the MTO rate when we do an accident.
So if somebody is beyond these 23 residents and they're down Highway 630 and they call 911, will that call go to the Calvin Fire Department?
Yeah, but at that point, we would have to.
Assess.
decline. It's out of our jurisdiction.
I see.
I have a question. I have a question to do with, if you don't have fire protection or protection from a local fire department, are you able to get fire insurance? I understand there was a large expensive home in Duravere burnt last year with no fire insurance because they don't have a volunteer fire department. So these people, whoever they are, they may, without an agreement, how would they be able to justify, or to their insurance company, to qualify for fire insurance? Am I right on that, or
You
is
can,
that just a rumor?
you can get insurance, but it's costly.
So you can always get insurance, Councilor Latimer, but if you have an agreement with the fire department, like these 23 people who came into the township, it decreases the cost of their insurance. Councilor Morton?
The agreement also protects the firefighters from Calvin who are responding, because now we've got a permission to go into their township. And so we're covered.
Okay. So it's an important agreement and it needs research, and thank you for bringing it to council's attention.
One last quick point, I just, it'd be nice to see the budget, just to make sure that, you can easily take the budget, divide, make sure that we're not offering a service at a lower rate than our own taxpayers are paying.
Agreed entirely.
That's
And
exactly what.
those numbers,
that's where we're-
I don't have them calculated, we have to calculate those numbers.
Right, I agree entirely.
When that rate hasn't changed in that long, you can be sure that your own residents are paying $90 more a year for fire protection services through their taxes.
These people on this. All right, any last questions or discussion? Oh, Councilor Manson?
I do think it's a great opportunity for those residents to kind of lock in their terms of their fire protection. A great idea for you to, do some fire prevention along the way, as it's stated. So this is a great initiative, and thank you.
Thank you.
And one final, Muriel, just because I'm here every day and I just a shout out to your fire department for keeping that rink so pristine and watered as, every time that we can. There's somebody on there on that rink every day, during the day, at night, we see it on the cameras. People in schools there are people on that rink skating. So thanks to your volunteers for giving up more of their family time to come on nights that are not fire nights to, or even training nights to flood that rate.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. All right, I'd call this resolution to a vote. Now therefore be it resolved, the Council of the Corporation Municipality of Calvin has received the report from the fire chief. All those in favor? And I'm in favor as well. That motion is carried. And Muriel, you're welcome to stay, but you also have finished your participation for the night. So please feel free to travel home if you wish. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the ABCs, the agencies, boards and committee reports. The first one is 8181, and that is the collective bargaining update. Now that is in confidential. It's confidential negotiations at this point in time and will be discussed later, so there is no report there. Then this next one, 8182, is the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority. That's Councillor Morton.
I didn't have a written report in time for the 4 o'clock deadline, so I don't have a report.
So you have a quick verbal.
For the verbal report, we met on Wednesday, which is the date of the deadline to submit a report. And the only thing I got a report is that I got voted in as on the executive committee.
Congratulations.
President Kelly Belanger from Papineau.
Pretty rural executive committee.
Exactly.
Paper, it's all rural. Yeah.
Papineau, Padawan and Calvin are there.
Their board.
Yeah. Well, then Dave Britton and there's one from, no, they're Irene Smith is, I think,
Calendar.
and then, Lana from, North Bay,
All right.
Lana Mitchell. It's the last names I had to show with.
So thank you for that report, Councilor Morton. And then you're also reporting on the Mattawa and Area Police Services Board.
Again, I submitted a report, a written report, but we've been notified that the April 1st, the police board will be disbanded all across Ontario and new boards will be created. So I've prepared a letter that I'll be sending out to all the CAOs tomorrow because I didn't want to be dealt with tonight. And for them suggesting they pick new people or pick the same people so we can go forward starting April 1st. And we're still looking for a secretary. We've got a candidate, but we can't interview her because we're basically in lame duck situation. So we don't want to make any decisions while we might not be returned.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that report. East Nipissing Planning Board, Councilor Grant, anything that you?
I have nothing to report.
I'm also on that planning board, and I know that we're working together with staff and the planning board to come up with what I'm looking for, more clear communications. Yes, and there are a couple of applications in the works right now, but we'll have more from the planning board in the near future. There is a meeting next Tuesday with the planning board, and I'm sure we'll have a couple of discussions at that planning meeting that we can report for the next council meeting. The physicians recruitment, there has been no meetings recently. The first meeting is at the end of February, so there will not be any reports until after that meeting, so in March. Talon Lake Docks, Councillor Latimer.
Yes.
Any comments on?
Yes, I do. I have, it's, corporation has been formed. It's a Capiscon Bay renewal project, and it has 3 board members, and they recently appointed a secretary treasurer. Don Paquette is the chair of the board. I'm not sure if he's a Calvin resident or not. It's hard to tell on our road who is in and who's out, who's on the Bonfield side or not. he's actually Neri, the mayor of Bonfield's sister or brother. And anyways, they either have had a meeting with Anthony Rhoda or they're about to have a meeting with him to secure funding for the project. And the next on their list is Vic, our MPP for the area. This project is a 3-phase project. The first year is, the plan is to install a new dock and dredge that area, and then the next 2 years would be separate projects, dredging and so on, dredging of the lake area around that dock. And so that's the latest information I have from John Kelsall, who is one of the board members.
All right, thank you very much. Any comments, anyone on the written report?
Could I ask a question? So Council Latimer, initially, when you were, I'm just looking for, to be able to, do we keep this on the agenda as you were part of the committee to report on, or do you want us to remove it now since that committee is now basically disbanded and you are an advisor when called upon, just so we know whether to keep it on the agenda as you want to, as a committee member?
I don't think it's really necessary. I can pass on some information as it comes up, but I'm not really part of it other than they inform me of what's happening. Yeah, that's about it.
All right, thank you very much. The next committee is the ad hoc committee, and that's Councillor Grant. And I thought that was you as well. Is it who? All three of you? So it's Grant, Madam.
Chair?
Who's the chair of that?
That would be council.
So then, Councillor Latimer, the ad hoc committee.
Okay, well, we met earlier this month, and we, Councillor Manson and Councillor Grant and myself, and with Teresa, Deputy Clerk, and it was basically a brainstorming session and passing ideas, sharing ideas, which we then sent the notes to Deputy Clerk, and the next meeting is March 1st, and hopefully we can come up with a draft proposal for council to review. And from there, if it's approved or not, then we will pass it on to the Integrity Commissioner for his comments.
All right. Thank you very much. Any comments from anyone? No?
No, that summed it up wonderfully.
Perfect. Just a note, it's not on the ABCs, but I did speak with the CAO, and we will be asking in the future for reports from other boards where councillors are not members.
Yes.
So for example, Mayor Corrigal is the representative on the Castle Homes Board. And then of course there's the DSAB and
DSAB
and health, and the health unit, yeah. So we will be asking for reports from them.
That's basically,
Okay,
that's it.
yeah. All right, thank you everyone for your reports. We'll move into the roundtable. I have nothing for the roundtable, but does anyone have any items for the roundtable?
Just a recap of what that is, it's information that we don't have to discuss, just good to know information that we don't pass resolutions for, just anything that's good for each other to know or for the community to know.
I didn't want to contribute that, so I'm coaching hockey in Mattawa, and when we had the arena closed down in Mattawa for a week, there's lots of people talking about all the skating they did that week in Calvin. And also just, you know, I've heard lots of discussion about Calvin's rink and how at the arena and how it's been really nice. People have been coming out here from Mattawa.
Right.
So I know Mattawa says that we use all of their services, and it's nice to see the residents also getting use of our rink.
Excellent, excellent. Anybody else for the roundtable? No?
We've discussed at the fire hall about having community events. And They gave a list tonight to the fire chief about the ones we did last year. I presume that we'll be looking for the similar things for this year, but I think because it is a community benefit event, the should be part of the budget considerations for the community rather than from the fire department.
There you go. Absolutely. All right.
I just comment on the couple things that I really love at the landfill that we have the Calvin Mall. I think that's such a great idea. So many other communities could imitate that because it's a wonderful way to recycle things. And it's the contents are always changeable. So I think that's a great.
Did you see what was in the Calvin Mall the last time?
Yeah.
On Saturday? Did you see what was there? Anybody? No? There was a stand-up piano
What?
and it was in perfect condition. And I phoned somebody and I said, oh, there's a stand-up piano in the Calvin Mall. And she said, can you just run across the keys? And I did. She says, wow, it's completely in tune. So I mean, rather than something like that wind up in the landfill, and that's a big item to wind up in the landfill, it's in the Calvin Mall. I don't know if someone picked it up today, Tuesday, they were open, so someone may have. But it's beautiful, beautiful.
It's a picture of a baby's thing they pull behind the bicycle, they attach to the bike.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody else on the internet commented on getting a whole dresser set.
Yeah,
They raced over
somebody put a
there.
bidding war in the dresser,
Yeah.
I think.
We're racing to get there, yeah. It's not a bidding war, it's free.
Yeah, race to get there.
So it's nice that the landfill staff are actually posting that on the website, so it's encouraging people to go get it.
And it's items that then don't wind up in the landfill.
Yeah.
All right.
The other thing I'd like to say is, when I moved to Calvin 3 years ago, many people told me about the roads in Calvin are really great neighboring communities, people and friends I have. And I must say, I'm really impressed and pleased with, because I drive to North Bay a few times a week, 3 or 4 times a week, and the roads I find them really great, and I'm appreciative of the staff that puts the effort into to do that.
Great, thank you. Anything else? All right, then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is that the council move into closed session. So I need a mover. It's okay, Councilor Morgan and Councilor Latimer. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of Municipality of Calvin hereby move into closed session at 7:08 PM. Pursuant to section 239 of the municipal act to consider as follows, pursuant to section 239 of the municipal act of 2001, council shall move into closed session to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, labor relations or employee negotiations, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. All those in favor? All right, so that motion is carried. I'm in favor as well. And I will just have
Stop the recording.
stop the recording.
You're gonna shut the door.
Yes. And Teresa, if you wish, our fire chief has left and you may,
Yeah.
okay.
And so we get back later. We start back.